Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. Welcome to my channel. My name is Micah. Today I am going to be doing a makeup look for you, and while I'm doing that look, I'm going to be talking to you about a topic that I wanted to brush up on. I am still planning on doing a video every month where I'm playing around with some single shadows. Earlier in the year I made this palette with blues, greens, and purples. I'll show you what this looks like. The bigger ones are Nabla, some of these smaller ones are Sidney grays, and I also have some Colored Rain and Anastasia shadows in here. So I just wanted to take the opportunity today to do a purple and green look because I'm really sort of like this shade here and this one and then this one and then maybe that one. I think that that will be pretty. I love this shade. This is by Sidney Grace. It's called Red Chameleon. So I may want to put that on the lower lash line as well. This is going to go all over the lid, I'm sure. I think I want to do a bit of a halo eye. So I'm going to do an eye look that is going to take a little bit more time to create because I also have a couple of social things to go to today. So I thought that I could make this part of like a get ready with me. But as you can see, I've done the rest of my makeup already. Unlike last time, I'm not going to be making this video about trying out that's currently in my shop, my stash. The reason for that is because when I went to New York, I bought so many other makeup-y bits that I still need to throw on my face to take pictures of that I decided to just make this all about the eyeshadow. So I'm going to be doing the look. I'm going to tell you which shadows I'm using. I'm not going to zoom you in any further than this because that will just throw off the focus, and I currently don't have any other mirror to work with than the big one that I already have here. So I'm going to be using that, and I'm just going to be playing around with some shadow for you. And the topic that I wanted to discuss in this video is hitting pan, project panning, and why I personally hardly ever hit pan on anything I own. I just spot cleaned some of my brushes as well, so they're still a little grubby looking, but they're definitely clean. So I'm going to go in first with this matte purple, which is by Nabla. It's one of these bigger ones, and this is called Eresia. So I'm going to be putting that in the crease just to get going, and then I'll see what else I pull in to try and make this work. I think I want to do a halo eye. I am not sure if I already said that, but let me just put this into the crease. So let me just first start off by talking a little bit about panning and my feelings about panning in general. And like, there's an entire panning community here on YouTube, and there are definitely a couple of people who use up a lot of makeup that I follow on the regular. The first person that springs to mind is Too Much Tash. She is always continuously doing project pans, and not only that, she also did a complete no-buy before no-buys were like the hottest thing on the planet. So I have great respect for her and how she talks about her collection and how she curates everything. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I would like to be able to do that as well. It's just that if I were to do that, then half of the stuff I own wouldn't get used, and that would be a shame too. So that's one of the reasons why I personally don't hit pan a lot, because I just have a lot of stuff. I like trying out new things. And on top of that, I just really like playing around with makeup and like changing it up and doing those kind of things. So that is why I personally struggle with hitting pan on a lot of things. Usually if I hit pan on something, it's because I just had it for a very long time. And that is something that I also wanted to touch upon in this video, is that whenever I do see people pan, and this is why I don't follow a lot of people in the panning community, it's almost as if people who do a lot of project pans and who really want to use up product also seem to use things up for the sake of using them up, if that makes sense. I'm not even sure if that is really something that I'm explaining very well, but sometimes, I'm not saying that this is the case for some of the people I'm watching. I think that there are people here on YouTube that just almost seem to just pan to pan. So for instance, with an eyeshadow like this, yeah, this is a really large pan, the one that I'm currently using for my crease. And this is one that I will never see myself hit pan on this, because the way I use, like, let's just take eyeshadow for a moment as an example. I really sort of like go around the entire pan. I never really focus on one part of the pan to pick up product. I never do that. I think that if you're not very conscious of panning, you wouldn't even think about that. But what I see a lot of people who pan eyeshadows do is that they will take a brush and they really focus on one part of the pan and then they sort of go back and forth, which I think means you kick up a lot more product. And two, if you always very consciously go into the same spot of a pan, of course you'll hit pan a lot more quickly. I think that it's just not an organic way of using product very often. And that's another thing that, you know, I see sometimes with project panning videos, is that people will have really dug into a product as well. Like, there are people who can hit pan on an Anastasia shadow in like 2 weeks. I'm like, how? How is that possible? So apart from it being, you know, very consciously always using a product in the same spot, it's also with some people, it seems to be just not a very good, sensible use of product, I would say. I think that some people also pan to hit pan and to really try and just overuse product just so they can say they hit pan. The one thing that is part of the panning community that I do participate in is empty products videos. I'm currently saving up all of my makeup empties for the entire year just to see what I use up, and I already knew a little bit what kind of products I use up, but I also sort of want to do like a monetary value of everything that I used up over the year and really just show you how many products I moved out of my collection just by everyday makeup use, you could say. But on top of that, I'm also doing like seasonal empty videos in which I show you what I've used up in terms of like skincare and body care and hair care. And I have to say that also with that, I mean, some people do empty products every single month. And I mean, I live by myself, so of course I don't go through product as quickly as if I were to live with someone else. If that person also uses that product, then of course you go through it a lot more quickly. But in my case, I just know exactly how much I can use up. And with skincare, I don't want to I don't want to have lots of half-empty bottles. I want to use something up before I actually go on and move on to something else, because I just think it just goes bad in any other way. So that's why I sort of make these videos as well, to sort of show you what my favorite products are, because I repurchase a lot of my skincare and body care favorites all the time. I'm quite loyal to like a couple of brands, so those just come up a lot, and I think that that's just a really nice way of talking about other content on my channel than like makeup-y bits. I mean, makeup I can use and you can see it, but with skincare and body care and those kind of things, I mean, it can take a while for you to also know whether something works. And then I also think that if you go through it very quickly, you can also not really really know whether something is for you or not. So that's another thing. And yeah, with some people who are like doing monthly empty products, unless you're like a family of 5, if you go through a bottle of shampoo within a month, then you definitely need to reassess how much you're actually using, I think. The next shade I'm going to take is a deeper purple, but this is a bit of a shimmer. This is by Sidney Grace and it's called Awake, and I think this will be nice in the inner and outer corners to get this halo idea started. So when it comes to project panning, I like seeing people use things up if they do so at like a regular pace. But if I see people using things up for the sake of using it up, I will no longer follow that person, if that makes sense. And I think that there's quite a lot of that going on YouTube. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, I don't mind hitting pan on my products. It means I really love it. And I feel that with a lot of people in the panning community, that's not the case. They're using up product for the sake of using up product because that's the content they make. But I don't want to see how quickly you can go through something. I just want to know, what are your favorites? Why do you like that product? And I feel that with some people, it's, you know, they go through something so quickly that they can't even really tell you what they think of it, because, or they will tell you like, oh, this is such a bad palette because I hit pan in 2 weeks. I'm like, girl, I have the same palette you do. But I've never hit pan, and I've had that same palette for 3 years. I mean, that's something that, of course, is different for everyone. Of course, we all have our preferences, and we all have our different ways of doing things. So apart from Too Much Tash, I have one other like favorite YouTuber when it comes to project panning, and that's a British YouTuber. Her name is Rachel Stephanie. I will be doing one of her tags very shortly, and she managed to use up, I could not only pan, but use up her Jaclyn Hill Amorphe palette. And she's currently on a year-long no-buy as well, and it's like a genuine no-buy. It's not one where, you know, she also gets a ton of PR, and I personally respect that a lot. She's really trying to get the use out of her products and really sort of, well, trying to just make things work and really see which things work and which things don't. And she did a video the other week where she talked about how doing a no-buy allowed her to buy a house, which I just think it's great. So I think we are all doing things in our own way and for our own reasons. But when it comes to panning, I can sometimes get very irked when people just sort of pan for the sake of panning, because it just doesn't make a lot of sense if you're just digging into shadow just to hit the bottom of the pan. And then what I always think is really strange is like, yeah, then you've hit pan, but you haven't used that much of the shadow because you just dug a hole into the pan. I don't really see the point. Moving on to the next shade, this is Winter Garden by Sidney Grace, and I think it will be really nice. It's like a really nice bright highlight on the middle of my lid. Ooh, yeah, that's pretty. So this has a bit of a blue shift. I mean, and this is, you know, tying into the whole panning idea. One of the reasons why I'm doing this type of video, even though not many people will probably watch it, is because I just want to make sure that I use all of these fun singles that I bought in the past year that I just don't get a lot of use out of if I don't do something like this. I knew that when I bought them. I'm not a singles person. I'm really into palettes, and even though I managed to curate my own sort of palette here, I mean, I like all the shades that are in here. I've already played around with all of these, but I also have a bunch of glitters and other shimmers and like fun things. And then it's just difficult to really use it on like a work day. So I sort of wanted to do this kind of video where I do a makeup look with singles that I own every single month. Also just to remind myself how easy they are actually to use, and that it really doesn't take any more effort than when you are actually using an actual palette, because that's just the reason why I go for palettes more. It's because I find them easier to use. It's a bit more curated. I just don't have that much time to get ready in the morning, and then if I also need to use headspace to think of like how I want to put it together in, like, you know, this has like 35 shades in it. It's a bit big for me. So another plan that I have for doing this video, and, you know, talking about panning and using things, what you have, moving forward in 2020, I want to do this where I sort of go through my singles collection as well and make like a little 6-pan eyeshadow palette that I then do a look with. But that's for the future. Right now, I'm just really trying to get use out of the things that I have, which is why I'm doing this style of video. And I think that this is super pretty. I think this goes really well together. Now for the bottom lash line, I actually know already that I want to do a bit of another halo, but I want to do it with green. So I want to do a darker green on the inner and outer corner. This is Colored Rain's Forbidden. And then I think I'm going to take Red Chameleon by Sidney Grace and really sort of dab it in the middle of my lid. I think that will be very pretty. So when it comes to project panning, I really respect people who sort of do this in a very organic way, you could say. I just don't like seeing people just using things up for the sake of using things up. Let me see if I can show you this going on. I always struggle with the lower lash line. I need to hold my lid, by the way, so if this creeps you out, I'm terribly sorry. So yeah, where was I? I'm focusing so much on my eyeshadow now that I forgot my train of thought. But yeah, I do really respect project panners that do it well, you could say. But I don't really like project panners who just kind of use things up for the sake of using things up, you could say. I just don't see the point in doing that very much. And the next shade I'm going to be picking out is one of my favorite shades in this entire palette, and it's Red Chameleon by Sidney Grace. And this looks like a really boring green shade in the pan, but it actually has a burgundy brown base, and then it has a green flash. That's why it's called Red Chameleon. And I just, because this is quite stark and this is nice and blended, so I do want to take, let me see, I think I'll take this one. This is Turtle Bay by Sidney Grace, and I'm going to use that to smoke out the lower lash line just a little bit with my very wispy Zoeva brush that I like doing this with. Now, moving on to the next shadow, I think I don't have too many sort of like inner corner highlights in here, but I think what I'll do is I'll pick this big one here. This is Pegasus, I believe. Yeah, this is called Pegasus. This is by Nabla, and it's a really nice sort of like iridescent shade, so I think that will be pretty in the inner corners. Right, and because this is like playing with eyeshadows, I also want to pull in this. This is a new product that I picked up when I was in the US. This is in the shade Wanderlust. It's one of the Sela Glitter and Glows. And I think I want to dab that a little bit on the very center of my lid, just to add a bit of sparkle. I was afraid that this would take away from like the purpliness on the lid, but it actually doesn't do that. And I think now that I've like just rubbed it in a little bit, you can see a little bit better what this does. It has like a pink base, but then it has like rose gold and gold sparkle running through it. It's a very different shade for me for sure, and I think it's really nice as like a topper with a look like this. All right, I'm going to quickly put on my mascara combo, and then I'll be right back to finish off the video. Right, so there you have it. That is the finished look that I did using my custom-made singles palette, using some Nabla and some Sidney Grace and a bit of Color Rain. I really like this look. I like the purple and green combo that it's got going on. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to build this palette when I did, because I really wanted a good green, blue, and purple eyeshadow palette at the start of this year. I now have several, so I definitely have enough to cobble things together now, and this is definitely one of them. I'm very smitten with this look, and I think I really enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if the whole panning bit was a bit ranty. Not my intention, but that's just how I feel about panning. I don't mind panning. I do a little bit of it myself, but I definitely try to make it like a process that's part of my day-to-day life, and I will not deliberately like do a project pan, even though I'd like to pan an eyeshadow, but I have used up an eyeshadow before. Actually, I used up an eyeshadow this year, so you'll see that coming in the sort of like overview of everything that I used up in 2019. So thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make 3 videos a week, so stay tuned because I've got lots more content coming your way. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!